allow me to tap into your imagination for just a little bit. You're a big dreamer. You have goals larger than life itself. And despite all your trepidations about entering the industry that you are so passionate about, you have direct family ties into that industry. Doors will open for you faster than anyone else. And beyond that, you have a natural talent for this thing that you're passionate about. Just a few years into practicing your field, your dream company hires you. Better yet, the company's top guy takes you under his wing. You've really got it all. 6 years later, you quit. Why? What could happen in those 6 years that makes you give up on everything you thought you wanted 6 years ago? Well, that's exactly what happened to third-generation wrestler Cody Rhodes. But rather than quitting and leaving pro wrestling behind, he took that passion, that drive, and decided that the company did not make the man. The man made the company. And he took all that passion and fostered it and created a global phenomenon. Now, not all of you will care about professional wrestling, but what you do care about is things you're passionate about. And that's why I'm here to talk to you about why Cody Rhodes is the most influential and important pro wrestler of the 21st century. My name is Liam Crowley, and I am an aspiring broadcast and digital journalism student here at Syracuse University. I have big goals in life. I have dreams that I want to achieve. And a lot of times, it's hard to stay focused and to stay passionate. But it's people like Cody Rhodes, people that decide, no, I'm not going to take no for an answer. I'm not going to be told that the hand that I'm given is not the hand that I have to play with. People like that inspire me every day. And I hope when all this is said and done, that you can take away a little inspiration as well. Now first, let's get into some background information on Cody Rhodes. He is a third-generation pro wrestler, as I mentioned, which means his father and his grandfather both competed in the pro wrestling industry. He's the son of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, a lovable pro wrestler from the 70s and 80s who grew success in independent promotions such as the National Wrestling Alliance and World Championship Wrestling before it became a global phenomenon. When the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, got to WWE, the major company, they dressed him up in polka dots. They made him a laughingstock. They didn't capitalize on who he was. They didn't capitalize on the name he made for himself on the independent scene. Cody Rhodes, back to him, was signed to WWE at 20 years old. He found success as a member of Legacy, a group composed of fellow third-generation wrestlers such as Ted DiBiase and Randy Orton. He won numerous titles, tag team titles, intercontinental titles, but never the top title. He was never placed in the main event slot of the card, as a singles wrestler at least. He was eventually rebranded, not by his choosing, by the company's choosing, as a wacky gimmick, Stardust. Yikes. This demoted him to the lower mid-card, the very beginning matches. In 2015, unfortunately, his father passed away. In 2016, 1 year later, he requested his release from WWE, and he left the company later that year. So why? Why leave everything that you've built over the past 6 years, 7 years in this company? Why start over? Well, Cody wanted a fresh start. Now, let's expand upon that. Rhodes turned down a significant pay raise. We're talking nearly double the initial salary he had in WWE. Why would you turn down that kind of money? Well, at the end of the day, it was due to creative frustrations. He was not satisfied with where he was on the card. He knew his talent was worth more than what he was being used for. And at the end of the day, he knew he had made a comfortable sum. He knew that his family was wealthy enough, not only in money, but in respect in the pro wrestling industry. And he just did not find it suitable to carry on his father's legacy dressed up in face paint. Face paint and a wacky gimmick where he referenced the cosmos and beyond. He felt that in order to do justice to his father and to the Rhodes name, to the Rhodes legacy, he could not continue on where he was. Now, when he requested his release and eventually left the company, he competed all over the independent scene. For those of you who don't know professional wrestling, There is a lot more out there than just WWE. There's the British indies, there's indies in America, there's indies in Japan, there's major companies such as New Japan Pro Wrestling, such as TNA Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor, that make millions and millions of dollars that no one really recognizes because wrestling is a bit of a hidden gem in the entertainment world. Rhodes competed all over the indie scene, making a new name for himself. For years in WWE, he was criticized for getting ahead and getting signed with barely any experience due to his family name. All his peers in the locker room, they understood that he was a soft-spoken kid and he was working hard, but they kind of resented him because he had that last name. He had that Rhodes last name. Is he here because he deserves to be here, or is he here because he's already famous? But when he gets to the indies, he's doing it all on his own. He's taking the steps that his fellow wrestlers in WWE took to get to the big stage. He's competing all over in these independent promotions, winning their top titles, getting respect, competing in venues, going from 10,000 seat arenas in WWE to competing in venues that are much smaller, 1,000 people maybe. Some arenas 300 people. He's taking all the steps his peers had to do before they got their big break. I mean, if that's not something that you respect, I don't know what is. How many of us, be honest with yourselves, are passionate enough about what we want that we'd turn down significant money in order to explore it? While Rhodes was finally getting to compete again under his name, not under Stardust, and doing what he wanted to do, at the end of the day, you got to support your family. So the fact that he was willing to take that risk, that gamble on himself, that, no, I'm a big enough name to draw on my own, I don't need the WWE to back me up to sell tickets, is awe-inspiring. But that chip on his shoulder mentality did not end there, and the obsession with success was only just beginning. Now we get to a big turning point in Cody Rhodes' career, and that is with All In. Wrestling journalist Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter claimed on Twitter when he was asked by fans that Cody could not draw 10,000 fans on his own. Keep in mind, 10,000 fans is the norm for big companies like WWE. He thought Cody is a growing name. He's doing well. He won titles in New Japan Pro Wrestling, in Defiant Pro Wrestling, in Progress, and beyond. But he didn't think he could compete at WWE's level. No, he's just an indie darling, as they like to say. Now, Cody, despite that this was a throwaway tweet, it was prompted by a fan. Dave Meltzer wasn't openly criticizing him. He just stated his opinion. I don't think the kid can draw 10,000 people on his own. Well, Cody became obsessed with this claim. He said, I'll take that bet, Dave. You give me a couple months to promote, and I'll fulfill it. He funded his own wrestling show at the Allstate Arena in Chicago, Illinois, and promoted it by himself over the course of 13 months. And when tickets finally went on sale, it sold out in under an hour. And it brought into question, even beyond Cody personally, do pro wrestlers need major company backing, or can they actually just do this on their own? Are they big enough names to sell out Madison Square Gardens, to sell out Staples Centers, to sell out even football stadiums? Do they need the branding of a WWE? Or can they do this on their own, by themselves, as independent contractors? While many thought that this show, while it was a great success, did great pay-per-view buys, fans in attendance loved it, it was called one of the best one-off shows in pro wrestling history, many thought it would be just that, a one-off. But it actually sparked a multi-million-dollar company. That brings me to my next and biggest point of them all Elite Wrestling. What is All Elite Wrestling, you might ask? Well, with the help of the family that owns the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Khans, Rhodes launched AEW, a pro wrestling promotion geared towards the hardcore wrestling fan.
So let me ask you guys, if not us, who? And if not now, when? Guys, it kind of feels like, it smells like, I don't know, it seems like this is a revolution.
So no, Cody decided he was done doing random independent bookings. He did a lot of work in New Japan and Ring of Honor, where he was the New Japan's IWGP United States Champion, a mid-tier title, and he was also Ring of Honor World Champion, their top title. But he decided no, he wanted to do something new, something fresh, because these companies, they were already as big as they were going to be. And Cody knew he could elevate them a little bit, but he wanted to take something from the ground up, something without already having a framework to build upon. And that's when Tony Khan approached him, of the Khan family that owns the Jacksonville Jaguars, and said, let's do this. You're passionate. I have financial backing. Let's put our minds together and let's make something great. AEW's first official branded show, Double or Nothing, which was at the MGM Grand Arena in Las Vegas, sold out in under 4 minutes. This is an arena that we're talking 16,000 fans, almost double the size of the Allstate Arena in Chicago. Under 4 minutes, people coming from all across the globe to see this show, and forced WWE to move one of their own programs to compete with AEW. Once AEW decided we're going to move on and not just do big pay-per-view shows, we're going to have a weekly television program where we're going to build to quarterly pay-per-views 4 times a year, once every season or so. WWE realized we need to put a damper on this as soon as possible. We need to try to take some of their fans away. So they moved their popular developmental program, now essentially one of their main shows, NXT, to Wednesday nights. Wednesday night, 8/7 Central, same exact time slot on the USA Network, while AEW runs their weekly show, AEW Dynamite, one channel apart on TNT. This is the first time since the Monday Night Wars in the late 90s between WWE and WCW, where WCW ran Monday Nitro and WWE ran Monday Night Raw at the same time, direct competition with each other. The best way I can describe it for people who don't really know wrestling is, imagine if Avengers Endgame and the new Star Wars movie opened on the same weekend, and you had to choose one to watch. NBA Finals and the Super Bowl airing on the same night. Every week, direct competition with each other. It doesn't get better than that. But why is Cody so influential? Well, that's because Cody splits with 3 other of his friends, the role of executive vice president. So he's not just a wrestler. He's not just competing. He is competing on a weekly basis as a member of the roster, but he's also an executive. He's someone that's behind the scenes working out financials, working out advertising deals, locking down arenas, planning out their next steps, planning out storylines. Cody is bigger than just being a wrestler. He's an executive. He's a booker. He's got a creative mind that is very similar to his father's. That's another thing that I want to make sure we know. Dusty Rhodes used to book his promotions in the late 90s against WWE, in direct competition with WWE. And now, like poetry, it rhymes. History repeats itself. You can't make this stuff up. Pro wrestling is scripted, don't get me wrong. But the ins and outs of what goes on behind the scenes is just as real as any sport, anything political that goes on. It's dirty, it's nasty, it can get gross, it can get very polarizing, it can be very divisive. And Cody, the prodigal son of Dusty Rhodes, a man who was treated well by WWE at the tail end of his career once he retired, and he got prominent roles backstage as a producer and as eventually the commissioner of NXT briefly. But he was humiliated when he first got there. He was treated like lesser than. He was punished for making a name for himself outside of their company. They wanted to make their own stars. They wanted to build them from the ground up. And when they saw this guy coming in with his own fans, with his own accolades, with his own personality, they dressed him up in polka dots. And now, Cody, realizing that he doesn't have to continue that way, and he can book his own company and give people opportunity. He can give similar frustrated WWE stars a chance. I mean, just look, guys like Brody Lee, guys like Matt Hardy, guys like Pac, guys like Chris Jericho. The list goes on. Ty Dillinger, now known as Sean Spears, These guys were frustrated in WWE because they weren't being used to their full potential. And Cody Rhodes and All Elite Wrestling now offer them an alternative. They now offer them a place that they can really maximize their full potential. And if that's not inspiring, man, I don't know what is. At the end of the day, you probably don't care about pro wrestling. If you weren't a fan before, it's unlikely that you're going to become a fan now. You're just going to say all that stuff is fake, right? What's the point? Well, that's an argument for another time. The point is, we all have something that we're passionate about, something that fuels us, something that makes us want to get out of bed in the morning. And I'm fairly certain that if I gauge the room, more than half of you would tell me you've been told no at least once before. That what you want to achieve in life is unrealistic. I mean, I know. I'm a broadcaster studying in Newhouse. I graduate with about 100 people that are all going to be vying for the same jobs as me. I'm competing in a field that is highly competitive. I'm told so often that if you don't make this your life, you will not succeed. You need to be willing to sacrifice anything for this career. And at times, it gets me low. It's tough to stay focused and stay passionate. But people like Cody Rhodes, they inspire me to want something more. What Cody Rhodes shows me is that no matter how many times you're told no, how many times you're told you're not good enough, that even if your dream job doesn't turn out to be what you expected, your dreams are still accomplishable. Your dreams are ever evolving. What you wanted at age 20 might not be what you want at age 25. You might get into the dream company you wanted in your 4 years of college right out the gate, and that might not turn out to be what you wanted it to be. That doesn't mean hope is lost. Today, you may be undesirable, but tomorrow, you could be undeniable. Thank you.
This isn't about the dead, it's about the living. It's about my mother. It's about my sister. It's about my wife. It's about the 14 years it took me to go from undesirable to ungoddamn